Hello friends. For today's video, we're going to be going through some upcoming fantasy releases for the month of August, some recent announcements and headlines, and at the end, of course, we'll be doing our features. This is going up relatively close to the last one I did for the month of July, and that's purely because within the announcements section, there is something that the date is going to coordinate right around when this video goes up. If I had waited till closer to when August is actually here, then some of you might have actually missed this particular announcement, and I wouldn't want you to miss out if it is something you're interested in. As always, I'll have all of the pre-order links for the releases, all of the details, including dates, for the things mentioned in the announcements within a pinned comment. So if you'd like to reference back to anything, it's all there for your convenience, as well as timestamps so you can skip around, and it makes it easier to navigate the information. But all of that said, we'll go ahead and kick things off with our releases for August. There are two sequels coming out within August that I know a lot of you are going to be excited about, one at the beginning of the month, one at the end. The one coming out at the beginning of the month would be A Trade of Blood by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is projected for the 4th. This is the third book in the Shadow of the Leviathan series. And then we also have Daggerbound coming out the 25th by T. Kingfisher. Because those are sequels, can't really say too much about them regarding their synopses, but rewinding and going back to the 4th, we'll go ahead and go through some that are first in series or standalones. We'll kick things off with The Castle and the Cloister. This looks to be the first in a duology, specifically The Daughters of Light. It follows three characters, a refugee, a heretic queen, and a blinded priest as they navigate war, faith, and politics in a shattered continent. We also have Queen of Shadow, and this one, it says, is great for fans of Sulin Tan. It also is Celtic inspired. It says, step into the mystical world of the Isle of Skye in 200 BCE, where legends come to life, goddesses and gods walk the mortal earth, and the Queen of Shadow holds court. There's a lot of additional details about this one, but when I was looking through it, it feels like one of those synopses where if you look too much into it, it maybe says a little bit extra that some of us don't want to actually know ahead of time. But if you are interested in the full synopsis, I'll have it linked where you can go ahead and check that out. But I have been enjoying the amount of Celtic-inspired stories we've been getting recently. I think when they're blended really nicely with actual history, and there's a lot of care put into establishing the setting so that then the fantasy elements actually feel as if that existed in that time period. I am a sucker for that kind of story. I've been on repeat talking about those. It's not Celtic, but something like The Unicorn Hunters recently was a great example of something where history and lore were blended together phenomenally. So it has some potential. This one is romantasy. I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, but for those of you who do like fantasy romance and romantasy, hopefully this one ends up being a hit for all of you. Next up, we have one that seems a little bit more science fiction than fantasy, but I still wanted to mention it. One, because a lot of us are familiar with this author because of their fantasy works, and also because, of course, there's overlap between fantasy readers and science fiction readers, and that would be The Infinite State by Richard Swan. I'm so excited about this one. I hope to really, really like it because thus far I've enjoyed everything by Richard Swan that I've picked up. I'm curious to see how he navigates a science fiction story. But the setup says it follows Catherine Fuller, a wealthy widow in the fascist Decurion Empire who inherits a massive fortune after her husband's death. Defying her oppressive, galaxy-spanning government, she teams up with a disgraced investigator and a hypersled pilot to use her wealth to buy a virgin world and establish a democracy. I don't know, I just think that sounds so good. It sounds like it has pieces of other science fiction things we've seen before. It has that kind of grizzled investigator character type, as one of, it would seem, are pretty significant and prominent characters in the story. And the whole, like, galaxy-spanning oppressive government and everything. It's got a lot of pieces we've seen before, but then there's a few other things just within that short synopsis that make it feel like it's going to stand out, that it's going to have really, really lovable characters, that it's going to have a lot of really great conversations within it as well. Like the thematic elements might be done really exceptionally. It just seems like a good time. I'm really excited about that one. Next up, we have one that when I saw the synopsis for this one, my first reaction was, what? And then I was like, okay, hold on. Let me read a little more of the synopsis. It's a standalone story, and it is called Rite of Unity. The tagline I saw was, what if the Hunger Games was a dating show? It says it's a standalone post-apocalyptic dystopian novel in a world where women must marry by the age of 28 or face death, and the president's son is hosting a televised competition to select a bride. After that, we have the Divine Gardener's Handbook. In the overcrowded megacity of Asperia, getting a job in the utopian Divine Gardens is nearly impossible. Cyprin, a scrappy city dweller, finally secures a spot by cheating to win the annual flower pageant. The victory thrusts her into a world of sentient plants, secret realms, and a deity who is just an exhausted man maintaining an incredible garden. Last for our projected releases, we have The Ashes of the Forest. This one sounds like it has the potential to be very, very moving, very poignant. It follows Azra. It says, born in a peculiar place where time has stood still and magical black seaweed grows in the shallows and entangles the unwary, Azra watches as the waves deliver mysterious treasures from faraway lands. When the waters of her home recede and then at last vanish, Azra embarks on a quest. She encounters magical feathers, a phantom sailor, and a fabled pearl seller as she seeks to confront the famed witch Lilith and bring the waters back. As she tries to restore the sea, she begins to connect with her people's collective unconscious. The Ashes of the Forest is a lyrical exploration of loss, remembrance, and the landscapes that shape who we become. The novel weaves together threads of traditional Turkish folklore with allegories for the psychological journey of the self and the destabilizing social effects of climate change. So sounds like a lot is really baked into that one. I really like the cover too. I know that doesn't necessarily mean anything about the contents of the story, but beautiful, beautiful cover work. Sounds very different from a lot of other things that are out right now. And also just in general, it sounds like it has the potential to be really, really unique. I personally don't know if I've encountered a lot of fantasy stories with Turkish inspiration, so I'll also be keeping an eye out for this one. Segue now to our announcements and headlines. We have a few things from The Broken Binding. This is where the dates are going to line up right around when this video goes up to why I'm putting this out a little bit earlier, because I think some of you will be interested in some of these things and I would hate for you to miss them. So first up, we have The Broken Binding announcing their edition of Scion. This is a sci-fi work by James Islington. I know a lot of you are really, really familiar with this author's work. The Shadow of What Was Lost was one that kind of kicked off this author's career, but many of you know them from The Will of the Many. The cover for Scion, just in general, has been really, really cool, definitely very eye-catching. The Broken Binding special edition of this also looks incredible. We also just recently got an announcement that Saint and Steel by T. Kingfisher, this quartet, is going to get a reprint from The Broken Binding. So if you missed it the first time around, you were really wanting it, now's your chance. You can check it out. I will say this series, out of curiosity, I checked to see if anybody was selling it secondhand, and it sells for so much secondhand. So I'm glad that Broken Binding is doing a reprint for those that are wanting to get their hands on this series. And then the last for the Broken Binding news, we have The Passing of the Dragon. This also looks absolutely beautiful. This is by Ken Liu. I am very intrigued by this one. I do need to read a lot more Ken Liu, and actually, if any of you have recommendations, feel free to let me know. I've read The Grace of Kings. I do need to keep going with that series, but I haven't read anything else by this author. So if you have any recommendations, feel free to leave them. But The Passing of the Dragon, this edition looks absolutely gorgeous. We have 2 editions announced by Fairy Loot. One of them is another edition of Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. They look beautiful. It is a gorgeous set. I'm trying to think of, in recent memory, another series that has gotten more special editions than this one. The amount of special editions, including from Fairy Loot. There have been just more than you could probably keep track of. So I'm surprised by this decision. Moving on though, the other one that they mentioned is the Part of Your World series by Abby Jimenez. This is a contemporary romance series. I hesitate to say series, it's more like a series of standalones, which I'm sure most of you understand that that's pretty common in contemporary romance stories. But regardless, these look very cute, very charming, and this is a wildly successful series by this author. I'm actually surprised I haven't seen more special edition sets in the past, so this one I think makes a little bit more sense. Switching now to Illumicrate, we have 2 announcements for Victorious from Illumicrate. This one is a little bit confusing, but if I understand correctly, they had their own special edition set they recently did, and they announced that the third one, because we had Vicious, Vengeful, and now Victorious, that within these special editions that have different covers, they have really unique artwork, that they are completing that set, so they've announced the third one. But additionally, because this is a series that has been coming out over the course of many, many years, they, back in the day, I think originally had done the first and the second, and so they're also completing just the kind of regular color variation third. So they have 2 announcements, is the point, for Victorious. And if you have Vicious and Vengeful and you're looking to complete your set for either of these, they will be doing both of them. Curious Kings has shown more details for the Wizard of Earthsea that they are going to be putting out. It looks really, really beautiful. I have only just recently started reading some Ursula K. Le Guin, and this is one that I really want to get around to. Maybe I'll read it and then maybe I'll have to see about getting this one. It looks stunning. They have done a phenomenal job with it, but I can't really comment on the art and how it relates to the story because I haven't checked it out, but it looks like they've poured a lot of effort into this one. If you are a fan of the War of Lost Hearts series, Owlcrate has been showing all of the specs for their set that they're doing, and it looks really, really beautiful. Props to them. I feel like Owlcrate has been doing a really, really great job recently, and the slipcase especially for this one, or the box, I should say, the box for this set looks really cool. They have really outdone themselves with this particular series. For our features, for the artist this particular month, I wanted to mention Sunga Park. I was very fortunate to get to work with this artist recently, and their art, you will be seeing more of it on book covers pretty soon. And for a lot of you, you're starting to see a little bit more of her art. She is unbelievable and also so incredibly thoughtful, so hardworking, and just an amazing talent. The particular art that some of you have probably seen as of late would be the work that she has done for the Heart of the Naga through the Broken Binding. The cover for this was incredible, and the naked hardback art, especially the board art, some of the most beautiful, beautiful art. And I'm just blown away because there are other versions that could have been, and I'm just like, why can't we have variants? I wish we could have several different sets of this first book, just because even the other versions that she has done are gorgeous. The attention to detail, how creative she is, how she is able to combine a lot of things together and do so in a way that is also very thematically present is incredible. I will probably at some point be going into more detail about her work and how it relates to this particular story, The Heart of the Naga, but regardless, her work across all of her portfolio is phenomenal. Definitely give her a follow, show her some love. If you do get a book that she has worked on, tag her in it because she's really, truly one of, I think, the best artists that has been working on books currently. I can't wait. I hope she gets to work on so many more because her work is really, truly beautiful. And she's so nice. She's so, so, so nice. Switching now, though, to a good cause or a charity. Some of you may know that not so long ago, I smacked my face into the concrete while playing sports. And this tooth here was knocked back, and I had to go to the emergency room, and all was fine. But it was a lot of visits to the dentist over the last few months. I finally did get everything that was kind of holding things in place off, so my tooth is mostly back to normal. But because of that, obviously many of us have the means of being able to access dental care, but not everyone does. So for our charity, I wanted to highlight Dental Lifeline Network. This group goes out of their way to help people who maybe wouldn't have access to dental care. Their dental care might be more expensive, or just individuals who maybe, because of other circumstances, dental care is not the first thing on their list of priorities, and so they want to make things as easy as possible. For example, they help the elderly, they help those who have disabilities or are veterans. So if you're interested in donating to them, I'll have them linked. It's something that I think a lot of us honestly probably take for granted. We don't really think twice about, but having so many trips to the dentist recently made me think about it quite a bit. That concludes our headlines, releases, announcements, and shoutouts. If you're interested in anything I mentioned or would like to reference back to it, I'll have that pinned comment so you have ease of access there. If you want to mention anything coming out soon or any announcements, feel free to do that. Thanks so much for watching, though. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.